dude, that's a beast.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindful Mashup. Apologies for the late start here. We were having some technical difficulties over here in Canada. I'm super excited for this one. Today we're hanging out with Marley Jaxx and Adam Carswell. Everyone in the Goo Crew, you're very familiar with Adam. He's the founder of Goo Balls, podcaster, real estate investing, doing all sorts of different stuff too. Marley is CEO of Jaxx Productions, YouTube guru, marketing guru. I'm not sure. We're going to learn more about that. And then we're also getting into psychedelics, all of our journeys with psychedelics. And we're going to break down the VIP box here with Marley. So welcome, guys.
Hello.
Made it.
Yo.
Made it.
So cool.
I got to say this. The first time I ever met Marley, I actually saw her speak on stage in front of about 5,000 people. And being in the world of marketing, she knows. And actually, her spouse is really good at this with like P.T. Barnum stuff. But it's all about association, right? So, Brett, I'm probably going to go back and find that clip. Hey, I got introduced on stage at the same time as Marley Jaxx. Put me on stage, coach.
Yeah, it's so awesome because we and I met Marley through.
Oh, we lost your audio. We lost your audio, Brett.
He can't hear us either.
I don't think he can hear us. No, it was the same thing as when we were testing out. Beauty of live events, folks. And so we'll.
This is live.
We'll fill
he's starting to realize it. He looks so troubled. I'm pretty sure he just dropped some expletives right there.
The best part is I know Brett just took his setup to the next level too. Like it was starting to come together, and now he's got his plants there and everything.
And technology revolts.
I don't. You can't hear me, but Brett. But I'll interview Marley gladly from here until you
right.
come back. So, yeah. Let me shoot him a text just so he's not confused. In fact, I'll do this. I'll send a voice message because we're all in the same chat. Hey, I'm gonna interview Marley until you figure it out. Cool, mate. Peace. Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Now.
Do you?
What is that? Oh, you know what? That's just because I had my phone connected.
Uh-oh.
There we go. So here we are, Goo Crew, and everyone tuned in. My name is no. You know what? I was listening to a YouTube video. There it is. For some reason, it started playing. Now I don't hear it. Now I've got you, Marley. Brett's going to figure it out. As we said, beauty of live events, folks. So let's go ahead and dive right into the journey here. A little bit about how you did and really what inspired him to want to bring you here on the show. We're just getting to Mar's about to tell her story, and then I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome.
My story with sorry, I cut out a little bit. My story with business, with psychedelics. Where should I start?
That's true. That's a good point. Where the rubber meets the road, where the business and psychedelics first intersected.
Yeah. The integration of it.
I would have never I had to go through some, tough life things, as I'm sure maybe most people, that's how they find psychedelics, is they're like, there's this other resource or therapeutic tool for them to be able to use. For me, I'd been building my business for a couple of years and went through the ups and downs of that, entrepreneurship being such a roller coaster. On top of that, I also went through a pretty awful, horrific divorce around the same time. And it was actually at the time that you were mentioning seeing me on stage at that big event. And so I was like speaking on stage to 5,000 people. I'm trying to fight for, everything that was getting separated in the divorce. And I was just really lost. And I was going to therapy like 3 times a week, crying over the same things. And I just like couldn't get out of this loop and just everything felt so heavy. And I had a friend reach out to me being like, hey, have you ever considered psychedelics? And I was like, what, drugs? And I was just in such a place where I was so eager and desperate for a change. I was like, I'm open to it. I'll try anything. And so at this point, I had flown to another city where there was a nurse that was kind of facilitating these healings, under the radar in like her guest house. And I did MDMA therapy for the first time. And it was like just the doors flung open. I was seeing in color for the first time. Like it was like I can't even begin to just describe how incredible it was and how wrong I was about what psychedelic medicine was. Growing up, it's like, don't do drugs and say no, kids. And here was like, that was the best yes I ever said. And then from there started to explore other kinds of psychedelic medicines. And I'm so grateful for it and grateful that it's a tool and a resource that I hope that there's, stigmas being removed around it and it's becoming so much more accessible for people.
Yeah. Such an interesting one to break in with too, MDMA, hey, because that one is like ecstasy. It has a lot of that narrative around it where you see now a lot of people breaking with ayahuasca or mushrooms or whatever, but that's a interesting place to start too.
Yeah. It was the first thing that was offered to me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just go all in and try it. And the difference between that and the other things I've tried now is MDMA, I felt like comes with a kind of like a recovery process. Feels like you get a bit of a hangover because of the serotonin that's dumped, and then your body's kind of replenishing after that.
Yeah, totally.
I got to throw one more thing in here, and then I promise I'll let you drive the ship, Brett, because this is your show. But Marley has a really cool thing hanging behind her that as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh my God, I know what that is, what that signifies. But if you could for the naked eye, they might not know what that award is on your wall. So could you just kind of let the listeners and viewers know some of your accomplishments, including that one?
Sure. Well, this is a 2 Comma Club award. And what that means is like 2 commas in revenue. There's 2 commas in $1 million. And so this was a 2 Comma Club. This is my 3rd 2 Comma Club award. And it might sound weird to say this. I'm just kind of correlating it now is the growth in my business has happened maybe faster as I've grown and healed the personal stuff. I think that your business only grows to the level that you do. And my first $1 million in business in revenue was not very profitable. Like I was in debt at the time that I earned my first $1 million in business. My second $1 million, I paid off that debt. My third $1 million came a lot faster and had more profit to it.
Cool.
Very
amazing. Yeah, that was actually going to be a question as, even as an entrepreneur myself with this business and everything else, like how did you find like thinking back, like you had mentioned, but does that correlate with that MDMA? And then did that take you into some different healing stuff with other psychedelics and continue down that path?
Definitely. I think that every time I've explored psychedelics, it just brings to the surface unresolved issues, traumas, things that we didn't even realize were under the hood until we lifted it. And for me, the first time that I did MDMA therapy, as I was mentioning, it was the first, and actually I've only done it twice. For me, I did not realize how much I was operating my life from a place of trying to prove myself. And in a way that can be really beneficial to people as they're getting started. They like have that fire under them. They have that chip on their shoulder. Like that's a really big motivator. But at some point, it can also be really damaging and exhausting and just not sustainable. And it can also kill the relationships around you. And it allowed me to see my life. It's almost like I got to see the whole time span of my life from a different lens, a different perspective, with also compassion for how I grew up and how I became who I am today, and how, yes, that's given me the work ethic and the drive, and it's helped me to come in this direction. But I know I just heard Joe Dispenza say this quote about like, you can't solve problems from the same level of consciousness that created them. And so here I was building this business that got me to this point, but I'd keep hitting a ceiling, or I'd keep having these patterns of relationships or opportunities that really weren't serving me, but I'd keep pushing forward them keep pushing towards them because of the status it would bring me or the amount of money that then I could earn. But really, like, was I happy? Was that actually fulfilling and serving me? And so to have just that awareness of, wait a minute, my fuel source was proving, and that is painful. Can I make a different conscious decision to maybe change my fuel source to, I don't know, passion, play, trust, and just trust that if I align with that, then I can become a magnet for, you know, what I want to create. I don't have to do this. I don't have to, you know, a lot of us, and I know for you guys, like, I don't know, did you have a 9-to-5 that you were like trapped in, that you'd look at the clock and be like, but I have to be here because I have to make money? Do you have to be there? Can you make a different choice? So that was like one of the biggest things for me. The first thing was just me changing my fuel source and not even knowing before psychedelics what my fuel source was.
Yeah, 100%. I can relate to that one a lot. I was from Alberta and power engineer, and 9-to-5, having to do these things, really not feeling that fulfillment. And it, for me, it all kind of aligned. And I also started doing on my own healing journey and realizing the same things. I thought of it as this sculpture I was building in my size, and I'm this little man building this sculpture of who I was, but it was just hollow inside. And then it had crumbled, and I'd be back and redoing these cycles of these events, like you say, these patterns. And I've been diving into Gregory Braden lately, and he talks about like the energetic attachments when we don't realize the lesson, and you go back and you redo that cycle, and you energetically are still attached to it. And like, and being able to, when you come to that self-love, come to that place of that true self, show up authentically, and then put that passion into that business. And then it feels like you're working 14 hours a day, but it's everything you love. It doesn't feel like you're working. It feels like you can really present yourself and strive in that.
Mm-hmm.
The third party perspective that these experiences can bring to individuals, it really is unexplainable. But I like that. I never heard that one about how it's basically the next level of consciousness that's going to get you there, not staying where you're at. It's a brilliant statement that I'm happy you shared. It just reminds me of an epiphany I had recently during, you could say maybe a borderline of a hero dose, where I realized there was, maybe some bad blood that I've been holding on to for at least the past 2 or 3 years, and you just got to let that go. And I'll be honest, I haven't let it go yet, but like, I know it's the hero dose wasn't too long ago, so the bad blood's going away pretty soon here.
Yeah. Have you found, since with your business, how you present yourself since coming to that new self, this self of that self-love piece, and you're able to expand on that now and raise that consciousness in how you carry yourself in business, how you carry yourself in your businesses? So you're almost at that time too creating a field of heart math gets into, when you're in these coherent states, you're actually creating this field from your cellular level that's drawing people in. So you're drawing more people around you just by being that true self, being that in that heart space.
What's coming up for me, I'm like remembering all the difficult things that I've ever experienced, like whether it was my divorce or whether it was a difficult client or working hard at something that I said yes when I really meant to say no. And it's like, I consider the price that I paid for that and what I actually got on the other side of that. You know, I've had difficult situations with clients where they've sued me, or I've had, paid a lot of money in my divorce and had to like start over again. And I look at that and I'm like, would I trade that for what I have now? Like, and almost I kind of have this imagery of like, if I could whisper in my ear sooner and be like, hey, you know what? Stop fighting so hard for it. Just like pay the price, because on the other side of it, you get this. And so I think about like even, growing up as a kid, they were mean girls in school. I'm sure we all have those kids that like weren't very nice to us, but the result of it is maybe you grew thicker skin, maybe you became really determined. And for me, it was that proving energy, like, oh, those mean girls in school said I couldn't do it. Well, I'll show them. And it's like, well, would I rather have the business and the fulfillment and like these kinds of relationships where we get to talk about cool stuff like this, like expanding our consciousness and growing in who we are as humans? Or would I rather that I never got bullied in school? And so I think about that today too, with like whatever happens for me, whatever shows up in my life, I'm like, okay, I trust that I actually created this at some level subconsciously because there is some sort of lesson on the other side of it. And I mean, you said the word heart math, and I was like, what is that? Tell me more about that.
But is so incredibly cool. Sorry.
Tell me. I want to be open.
Yeah. I work with a fellow named Dirk Terpstra, and he studied with the Heart Math Institute in California, and they're actually using scientific data now to prove human consciousness. And there's a lot of other stuff going on. That's what Joe Dispenza dives into a lot. And so they say, like, when you're in that meditative.
Oh man. Right when the goods were coming.
Just when the good stuff's happening. He can't even hear us again.
I'll give him a heads up. The sound.
He's like, no.
Heart math. Well, one thing you shared there reminded me of there's an individual named Paul Levy, maybe Paul Levy, how you want to say it. Have you heard of him before? Does his name ring a bell by chance?
I don't think so.
So he's written a lot of books on this theory called Watiko, which is basically that there's this unseeable mind virus that exists out there in the world, say even beyond the level of the virus that we just had to deal with or whatever. Like it's more in that realm. Getting it set up. Can you hear me still? Am I coming through?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just got you.
Cool. All right. He talks about our creative power is one thing that he talks about along with Watiko. And we are so creative intuitively that even when we tell ourselves that we're not creative, we create that reality for ourselves. We all have that strong of an intuitive creative power. And to shift gears from maybe something that people would consider woo-woo to oh, where we at?
What's happening? We're vibrating too high here. It's just the mic can't take it.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
You're talking about creative, something that could be considered woo-woo.
Yeah. But if you want to shift gears to maybe a more mainstream narrative, like even if you look at the teachings of the Bible, the very first thing God says is God created man in his image. And the very first thing God says about himself is he's a creator. So, we are all intuitively creative beyond our own imagination. And I'm willing to believe you guys are actually aware of how creative you are from what I'm picking up on.
Creativity has been a huge subject for me recently. And I realized where I might've been playing too small. Definitely playing too small. Not might have been. Absolutely have been playing too small. And I don't know, for you guys with entrepreneurship, it can often be like, oh, you just have these systems and processes and we batch it and efficiency. And it's like sometimes the efficiencies or like the fast paced movement can take away from the depth of creativity to really create something huge. Like I've been even studying like, I don't know, big YouTube creators. Look at Mr. Beast, look at Mark Rober, look at, I don't know, name anyone. And sometimes they'll put out just like one video a month, but it gets millions of views because they go all in onto just how awesome can I make this? How creative can I be? Instead of trying to just like hammer it out there because we want to be a machine. And look at what the industrial age taught people is like, the more productive you are, the more valuable you are. But what if we just kind of slow down and lean into creativity and creating just like one awesome output instead of frequency?
Yeah, I love that. Have you explored psychedelics in the terms of using it with creativity, like in helping with creativity, seeing where that takes you?
I feel like I write my best and I come up with my most creative ideas in the afterglow. Actually, so when I first take, like if I were to do, I don't know, maybe a hero dose for the first little bit, I'm just like, I couldn't even pick up a pen. Like I'm very internal, and I try to write things down.
I'm always like, I'm going to write so much, and I'm like, dude, I can't write right now.
I wish I could, because some of the stuff, and I want to remember it after it's over. I can't remember it, and I can remember some things. I got to journal it immediately after, when it's still fresh. But when I'm like coming down from it, that's when I'm like, get out I wish I could type, because I can type faster than I can write. But yeah, that's my most creative work. And then I'm like, why can't I be like that all the time? And I try to argue with myself that maybe I can, and maybe I'm just not letting myself get into that state. I'm just getting too bombarded by reality, but it's really a state of being or a state of consciousness to just live in that. Maybe I'm sabotaging myself from getting there.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a good point though. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, no, it really is. And you know, like Ram Dass talks about this when they were coming in, when he was going to India and doing his walkabout, and he brought this LSD, and he's talking to this guru.
When he gets to the
right to the good part.
So we had word math. Word math. I noticed my name keeps going to my Twitch streamer name, which is, for everyone who's tuned in right now, you probably know. But anyways, creativity. It reminds, and we'll see how long we can go before we get cut out here. But it reminds me of a story that I heard. I have a friend who likes to go snowboarding and skiing in Japan, mainly because when he goes there, he's noticed a lot of the Japanese people who are on the slopes, they'll just keep going down the same paths over and over and over. They just keep going down the same paths over and over and over again. So when this, crazy American, he's just a regular American skier, but he comes over here and he maybe goes off the path a little bit or does a little trick over here that no one's like done before. And he's like, I love it, man. It's like I'm a celebrity anytime I go over there. But what I think of when I hear that is, I've heard a metaphor that when you are in that state of mind, we'll call it the hero dose experience, your brain is triggering neurological pathways that don't normally get touched, or maybe you just haven't used that way before or in a while. And so what ends up happening is those slopes, it's like going down the mountain and doing a new trick, and now that new slope is there. So even if you do come back, not in that deep state of mind, you've made a little trail there that I'd say, as long as your mind is open enough, you can refine those little trails that you've made just by going about your business, going about your life. And that's why I think sometimes it will take like 2 weeks until after a hero dose, you're like, oh, like I get it now. I see what I downloaded. Like it makes sense now. So
yeah, that's such a good analogy, because I do think about the neural pathways that are opening. And you even think, have you ever seen that? What documentary is it? It's some kind of documentary on Netflix about mushrooms. I think it's like Fantastic Fungi. Have you heard of it?
I haven't. No, I gotta check it out. Yeah. It's
such a cool documentary, and they actually show how these mushrooms and I think it was also, they're talking about like trees and their roots and stuff. They're like communicating under the ground, and it actually shows a visual of all these roots and how like energy is flowing through them. And if one is like injured over here, the other ones can send, healing and energy to the other one to help it to heal. And like, you think about how the mushrooms and these like plants are doing this underground, and then we consume them. And it also, like, that imagery makes me think of the roots, the synapses, the stuff going on in our brain, the neural pathways. I'm like, is that just what's happening in our body too? It's sending energy, sending healing to the parts of our body that maybe we aren't aware of. But this medicine is magic. It's probably doing the work that we don't even realize consciously and subconsciously.
I'd say from an analytical perspective, I do think a lot of it is beyond modern science. And are you familiar? Man, we're dropping so many names today. Are you familiar with a guy named Graham Hancock by chance?
Nope.
Oh man. Okay. In order for you to go down this rabbit hole, I know it's going to take some time. I can't just send you like a 10-minute clip from him or whatever. But I saw him on Rogan's show recently. He's actually been on Rogan's show like 3 times. Same with a mushroom guy who's pretty popular has been on there. But anyways, he talks about how prehistory might not just be prehistory. There might have very well been other civilizations just as advanced as us, if not more. It's just that modern history really begins with the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, like all these modern religious texts. Is that that's, in my opinion, coincidence? I think not. But he really dives into a lot of evidence and research that he's done, that there's been things before what we know to be modern history, and there's some type of connectivity that comes from the psychedelic experience. And so talking about the nervous system and mushrooms, I know for example, lion's mane has been tested to do something with regeneration of the nerves. You guys who are tuned in, and Marley as well, you guys fact check me on that. But there's been, I think what they did was they took a group of mice and they did something to make their memory almost like decay, and they fed group A nothing, or like a placebo pill, placebo thing, and then they fed group B the lion's mane. And what they found was, like, over time, the mice started to remember like which direction to go and like things like that. So as far as the nervous system and mushrooms or just psychedelics in general, there's definitely some things going on there that I don't think we've quite been able to comprehend yet in our day and age.
Yeah, well, if science, there we go. Hey,
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on.
Only
we
maybe
missed you. We're just warming up.
Could maybe the one thing I'm wondering, maybe your phone is connected to your is your Bluetooth on your phone right now and on your laptop at the same time, because it might be fighting for attention on your headphones.
No, I had my phone shut off actually.
Okay, ready to go.
Yeah,
Marley, you were about to say you're about to drop some heat. Though Marley,
I was going to say, like, if science has only scratched the surface on psychedelic medicine, imagine just what's to come, as long as, the people that are willing to fight the regulatory bodies, the powers that be, are able to, keep pushing this medicine. And I was actually I'm so glad that you're back, Brett, because I have this amazing box. I actually just pulled out okay, first of all, you open this box and it's like shiny and welcome to the mindful movement. I couldn't even believe how generous he was in sending this to me.
Sorry, I was trying to make Marley the main screen there. There you go.
My phone is like trying to talk to me here. Okay, look at this. First of all, just wow. I have like no words. The fact that there we go. That I can show. Look at how amazing this packaging is, and that it just looks it looks like I'm in a candy store, but it's mushrooms. I don't even know what all of these things are yet. We're still exploring them. But it's like every single bottle. Okay, this one, Synergy, Inspire, Maca Root, Perform, Lion's Mane, our friend, we were just talking about that. And this box is like full of magic, Brett. Do you want to explain what these things are?
Yeah, well, I'm so happy that was your reaction, because that's what it was designed for.
Yeah,
and
it clearly was designed very well. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I will. We worked really hard on it, and that wow factor was something we wanted, and our branding, we really like how it brings everything from Mother Earth kind of to the eye. So what's the best way to do this? So what ones have you tried so far?
Okay, we tried Synergy, and I think we tried too much of it because we were like on the couch for the rest of the day.
That's my favorite, by the way, Synergy. But you make a good point there. Normally one, if I'm gonna go into any type of serious work, and then I'll do two if I'm gonna do like a yoga session, and then give myself an hour to shift back to work. Yeah,
that's cool.
Little pointer.
Well, it came with on the site. It also explains like how much is in each. How much? What am I trying to say? Is it the psilocybin that's in each? So like, am I going to get a buzz from this, or is this going to be calming? And so I haven't tried enough, because I haven't known yet the purposes of when should I take this one? Is this one going to knock me out? Not knock me out, but give me a buzz, a glow.
Yeah. Well, and I thought what could be fun was what's really helpful with mushrooms and then the functional side of things is everyone's a little bit different, how we process nutrients. Like, we were talking before our genetics, where we come from. Like, so we all respond a little bit differently as far as the intake of these supplements. So maybe like figuring out a way to integrate this into your lifestyle and then starting on a little routine or ways to integrate it into, try and achieve the goals that you'd like to see with microdosing or the functional side of things.
Do you have like a routine for yourself that you're like, okay, I take these ones on these kinds of days, and do you take some every day? What are your habits like with these?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a huge fan of lion's mane too, and cordyceps are my favorite. I do the cordyceps in the morning with my smoothie, and then I'll usually do the micro. I do 2 micros and then 2 lion's mane at about 11 o'clock before my afternoon workout, and then I find that I really hit that flow state for my afternoon work session. So that's what seems to work really well for me. And then if I'm going to get creative or something, I like to take the Inspire, and sometimes when I'm going into like a deep meditation or doing these things, I'll do the Voyage, which is that 350, or going on a hike, those kind of things. The Voyage can be really cool because you guys would have experienced 300 by taking 2 of the Synergy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the Synergy is a real.
Marley's like, it's like the presentation lady. So yeah, Vanna White, thank you. Brett, you got to share with Marley and our audience too. You microdosed, not only training for, I think it was an Ironman, but then you went and performed and you finished like, what, out of 500 people, top 15 or something crazy like that? Like, this dude's a machine, by the way.
Yeah, I did. So I did the perform for that. When I first found mushrooms was cordyceps. Actually, when I was in my early 20s, I was training for an ultra marathon, and I was just finding that the cordyceps I was knocking like 10 minutes off my 10K, and then I was knocking time off my 20K, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Then I started doing a deep dive, and like cordyceps really help with your ATP production, which is like your recovery and the driver of your muscles. But then it also helps with your cells taking in the oxygen, so it helps with your VO2 max. So I'm like, oh, this is wild. And then that's actually what got me into mushrooms, 10, 15 years ago. So fasting forward, I did a Spartan race, 6 months ago, and it was 26K and then 50 obstacles, and I did 2 performs and 4 cordyceps, and ended up, I think I got 12th or 15th or something like that.
You were high up there. I remember.
Yeah,
it was like it's testimonial that needs to get on the website.
But yeah, it's a huge driver. I find when you get to that flow state, and then your body, you just are in tune with your body, everything's moving, and time goes by quicker, and it really, really helps with I've loved it in the optimization of my performance in sport. I think it's been, I like to stay on that lower end though, because I'm quite sensitive. If I go more than 150, I get a little spacey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you'll notice on the initially when it's set up, it kind of goes through. So the micro, which is 50 milligrams, to the perform, which is 50, then the connect is 75 milligrams, to the modern, that's 100. Then over to the Synergy, which is 150, the Inspire 250, Voyage 350, and then you need the lion's mane, the cordyceps. I think I sent you that before. We just brought on the turkey tail, and then a couple mushroom herb blends. So I'm really passionate about mixing herbs with mushrooms, because I'm a believer that they can be a carrier of these nutrients and help actually enhance the effects. And like ginkgo, for example, has niacin in it. So that's like the Stamets stack, where he's saying the psilocybin, the lion's mane, and the niacin. So very similar, but using not molecule derived niacin, but just a natural form of niacin. So it helps with that blood-brain barrier and that sort of thing. And then mixing with cordyceps and lion's mane. This is all fairly new to microdosing, but yeah, that's the quick spiel.
You're just knowledge here. Like, you must have been studying this for years.
Yeah, it's been, I was thinking about that the other day. I'm 34 now, so it's been about 12 years. 12, 13 years. Yeah. And I just started finding, there's starting to be more studies in North America now, but at that time, all the studies were in Japan, China, but they're human studies that we just don't take into account here. And this is ancient medicine that's been being used for 2000 plus years. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and we just kind of didn't look at it. Yeah, so it's just been this rabbit hole and just passion. And then
So
that's how, yeah.
You've been doing this for about 12 years, and I've only known of this for the last like 2 years. So for me, I'm getting more exposure to it. I'm starting to see more people talking about it. And so I'm like new to this environment. To me, it feels like and I don't know if it's just because now I'm opening my eyes to it and I'm seeing it more, but it seems like it's grown a lot just in the last like couple of years. From your perspective, has it been just the last couple of years, or because you're in this, environment, you've seen it a lot more? To me, I'm like, it feels like a hockey stick, but maybe it's just me because I'm new to the environment. What's it been like for you in the last 12 years?
No, I think it's definitely been like that hockey stick over the last 2 years, since there's been more stuff coming out publicly about macro dosing and everything else. Then mushrooms kind of all, caught hot fire. Even if you're talking functional mushrooms, the first thing people say are like, are these psychedelic mushrooms? And they want to know, right? Like, and they're all really interested in it. It's such a curious industry in that sense, because these are things that are helping us actually look inside at our own stuff, which is, and then they're helping us break through, and people are so drawn to that. And it's really interesting to see that. But at the same time, we've been this narrative where it's like, go see the doctor, he'll give you this, and just kind of push it away rather than get to the root of the issue. And it's really interesting to see people's kind of outlook on it shift, but not really sure, still kind of tippy-toeing around it. But then once that happens, you get that snowball effect. And the real cool thing is helping people because at the same time, it feels really overwhelming, right? I don't know, for you, just 2 years, even just getting a whole box like that, you're like, what do I do with all this stuff?
Yeah. I'm like, tell me your routine. What should I try? Do I just take one different one every day, or what's good for what? Like, I want like a cheat sheet ebook for take this when you want this outcome.
Yeah, it's actually something I've been working on in the background as a little something like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
First person to opt in for that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? And another passion of mine is really empowering people, so people can take that power back to get their health. Because we get fed so much, like, keto diet, like paleo, whatever, and like, but it's not a one size fits all. We all have different daily routines. Some of us are in the office all day. Some of us are working construction or whatever, and then some of us are from, like I said before, different heritages. So the way our molecular structure is and how we take things in is a little bit different, and like what we respond to. So I like to help people try and find, okay, so like, first off, like, what is your intention with microdosing? What is your intention with functional supplements? And even that shift in just drawing that intention, just like you do in a macro experience, but that has shown to really help people and have more results than just taking it, because they're setting that intention already of why I'm taking it. When you're starting that neural rewiring, in a sense. So then you're starting to I'm taking it because I'm trying to drink less and I'm trying to be these more healthy things, and you're starting to get that activation, but you're also taking the steps because neurons that fire together wire together, you're starting to actually start these new neural pathways, which will change those and break those habits.
So cool.
Yeah.
I'll give you my preference here for what it's worth, Marley. So personally, I do like Synergy. That's very interesting to me to know Brett's routine, because I was thinking, this guy, he runs MindfulMEDS. Like his tolerance is probably way higher than mine, is what I'm thinking. I'm such a baby, because Synergy is 150 milligrams of the stuff that makes you buzz. So anyways, so to hear he's at micro, either way, I like Synergy. I do, no matter what I do, I actually always like to make sure I give myself like at least 90 minutes before any meetings, just because I find that if I come into a meeting and I either don't have a buzz or am coming down from something, even though no one on a call can tell, to be honest, it's just like running through your head. It's like, oh, like, can they tell? So, and it's different for everyone, right? But then once you're in the flow zone, you're out, you're kind of off to the races. And then, we got some technical difficulties maybe here. But the other thing I would say is I like Happy Days. And what Brett actually recommended when Happy Days came out was stacking it with the Synergy. And I find that to work very well also, to kind of just hedge against any type of edginess that may occur. I feel bad even saying edginess, especially if someone new is tuned in right now, because I feel like this is the furthest thing from edgy. Like, we're not talking like someone who's an alcoholic and hasn't had a drink before, like that's edgy. And if anything, we've seen these types of things can help people overcome tough addictions like that. So happy days. And then voyage, it says it all in the title, right? If you're looking to go for a voyage, take a voyage on a Saturday or a Sunday and let it rip.
Yeah, because really with microdosing, a lot of times you're not actually feeling that. You'll feel like you don't even really, it's not like an immediate feeling, but you reflect after and you're like, oh, I was really in that flow state. Like, what happened there? Yeah. And so I guess like a great way to start is like, what would be your intention? What now taking in, what would be drawing you to the box? What's your intention you'd like to achieve with it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's days where I'm like, I want to be creative and I want to, come up with some cool YouTube video ideas and write some awesome scripts. And just looking at what I have in front of me, I would kind of guess that I would go for inspire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be great. And then it's like, say in your daily life, is there parts where you feel like you'd like some more energy, or you feel like you'd like some more neural clarity, or you feel like you get a little foggy or tired, or like any of that kind of like afternoon lull, anything like that?
Yeah. What would I take there then?
Well, tell me about it. What is it happening? What's going on?
Okay. So yesterday I had so much work on my plate, all these like silly to-dos, and I'm like, I have so many meetings, I can't get to my to-do list. And by the end of the day, I was so aggravated but tired. I was like, I don't have extra energy to do the things that I want to do. And I'm kind of in a bad mood.
Yeah. So something like that could be interesting, is like what Adam mentioned. Another fun stack that I also love is the micro, which is the 50 milligrams, but then stacking with 2 of the happy days. Happy days is cordyceps, lion's mane, ashwagandha, and holy basil. So this is a really like light energetic, but it's really easing, like almost like a little bit euphoric, like you get this and you feel really good. Like, and it's like this adrenal release, you're getting the nutrients to your so you're not getting that stress, and it's
happy. I say happy days is a good one just to take any day, because if you follow like the mindful regiment, or I think James Fadiman is microdosing 1 day on, 2 days off. MindfulMEDS is 5 days on, 2 days off, something along those lines. Happy days you do every day of the week, and then every day is a happy day.
Yeah. And then if you're feeling that happens in the afternoon, like after lunch, have a couple happy days or something, and just when you're taking it, if you're feeling that your mornings go awesome, and then you kind of stuff piles up, and that's when that's occurring, then having them in the afternoon after lunch would be an option. And then if you wanted to start on a microdosing routine, like Adam said, there's like, I do a 2 on 1 off. That's what I found works best for me. But the staples are the Fadiman 1 day on, 2 day off, and the Paul Stamets 5 day on, 2 days off. So you could start a small microdose on that, and then have the happy days every day and see how you go, do that journaling, reflect on it, and then you can tweak it as you feel you need to.
And so for those routines, like 1 day on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 1 day off, 5 days, like, is it just guessing and checking, like just testing, see what you like, and then it becomes a preference? It's just kind of individual to the person?
Yeah, for the most part. Like, and that can be like, usually you want to give it at least 2 weeks to see how it goes. And what's nice about the journaling piece is just even if it's not like diving deep, and it's just like some just notes on like how your day was, so then you can kind of like, if it's been throwing things off, you can kind of just reflect back and see.
And for me, I noticed also, it's funny sometimes the days that are off days can sometimes be even better than the on days. I don't know how that works, but you just, sometimes the way you move on an off day, you're like, man, I'm happy I'm doing this.
Yeah. The cool thing with mushrooms is they don't have that, like, you need to do them. These effects are lasting because you are creating these new neural pathways, breaking these habits, right? So it rolls over. What's your daily routine? What are you doing now, Adam?
Right now, I actually need to place an order. No, I had that VIP box you sent me, and that I'd say for the most part lasted me before. So we just moved from Calgary to Tampa, Marley.
Oh,
Freedom,
awesome.
freedom, woo! But anyways, what I also do, and on that note, Brett, is I will intentionally. So I knew that I was gonna quote unquote run out right now, and I do also like to give myself sometimes with anything. What you name it, alcohol, any type of quote unquote vice or something that you're putting into your body, always give myself a month, 2 month window every now and then just to show, okay, I'm in control. It's not like and I feel like mushrooms would honestly be one of the last things to ever create that feeling. Like we've seen some other things in our lives that could be more addictive. But yeah, so I'm kind of in an in-between period, Brett, but I'd say, it's been at least 2 or 3 weeks since the last time. So when I do reach out, it'll probably be Happy Days, probably be Synergy, it'd probably be Voyage, because Voyage is good for those weekends whenever you just want to go deep. And then Happy Days and Synergy, that's a part of the routine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe get extra cordyceps so I can run fast and far like Brett.
Yeah, you got to get the cordyceps, man. Yeah, so really, like, however you want to approach it, even maybe an easy way to start is just doing the Happy Days every afternoon, see how that's affecting. And then on those days you want to get creative, try the Inspire. And then maybe if you're feeling that's going well and you'd like to see what that microdosing, just the low microdose, the micro with 2 lines main can be quite good too. And just even for that flow state, that things where you're just, I find it really helps me with like compartmentalizing things. So then it's like, okay, do this, and then it doesn't get that same agitation and pile up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm ready. 2023 is going to be a hell of a year for Marley Jaxx, folks. Go follow her on Instagram if you haven't already.
Yeah. Sorry, this one's been all over the place because
we held it down. We
it was
appreciate
great.
It. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for this. I'm really excited, and I've got some big plans to be way more creative this year. And kind of what I was mentioning before about maybe creating less, but what is created is bigger and better. That's kind of my plan. Is I hope that in a few months from now, you guys are like, wow, she was serious, and now her content is like viral. What's the plan?
Yeah, sweet. So before we take off here, what's going on? What are the goals for 2023?
2023. I've like just shifted my business that instead of us being a entrepreneurial coaching company that we provide coaching to creators, is like, I want to focus on my creation. And then, by the way, we also help creators. So I'm like just shifting my priority to being about what I create. That we're almost like a production company rather than a coaching company. We're a production company that happens to coach, not a coaching company that also produces. So we're putting our creation first. And even today we called it like a writer's room meeting where all of our creative team were in on Zoom, and we're like, I imagine it being, I don't know, I wanted to model what I imagine like a Hollywood writer's room would look like, where you're just throwing out ideas and what if we did this and what if we did this? And it got us really excited. Whereas, before, a lot of my content was like, okay, we have an idea, we bullet pointed a script, and then here's a camera, point and shoot. And it was like, okay, so we do this, and we do it, and you just, ramble off, and here's a 15-minute video. Instead, we're putting a lot of effort into the pre-production and making it like a movie, like a documentary. Like our content is actually,
and I think like any good artist, like any good creator, we're most critical of our own work. So don't, Marley's, her previous stuff is pretty good, guys. Make sure you check out everything she's got. I have to bounce soon, but if you guys can keep going, I'd say the only thing, Marley, I'm looking forward to is I've seen how much you've impacted your business partner in his life, and in the world of NFTs and crypto. We won't dox him, we won't throw his name out there unless you want to, but I'm just looking forward to see how your ripple effect changes his life and again the people around you guys. It's super awesome to call you a friend, and I look forward to the next time I see you.
Oh, you're so awesome. I can't wait to see you guys.
Mm-hmm. Brett, I'll see you around somewhere, man. Go Browns.
Yeah, I just actually took down the fantasy football Gooball's championship. So
And wait, you're in Canada right now? Because it looks like you're like Costa Rica with all those plants behind you.
Yes, I'm in Canada. We're very fortunate. We live on Okanagan Lake here, so
Beautiful.
yeah. Something I've really gotten into this winter is I've been doing cold dips. So I go jump off the dock every morning, and
You're
that's been
brave.
another one for like cold and integrating that in, and like all these different tools with mushrooms and stuff. The cold dipping and getting the cells really tight and then large again. That's been really impactful for me.
I keep being pushed towards that, but I am just a baby. I turn on like a little bit of at the end of my shower, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta get out now. I gotta be braver.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually find the showers to be way harder than when you're immersed in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry for
My
all the
pleasure.
hiccups, but
Thank you for
I'd
all of this. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
glad that we had this conversation because now it gets me re-inspired about having a new routine and trying all of them. So starting today, I'm going to take a happy days right now.
Yeah, sweet. I love it. It'd be fun to follow your journey, or maybe we could collab and do a little production on some sort of like
That would be
how
awesome.
how people change throughout or something like that. I'd love to do something like that because I think
I
that
would
could be
love
really
that.
cool.
That'll be so fun. Let's
Mhm.
do it.
On what we were talking about quickly before we bounce here, some of these testing like that Joe Dispenza are doing and these new science and stuff, they're actually seeing how the cell changes and the molecular makeup changes. So we're working on how would that change after your supplementation and that kind of thing, and that could be super neat. Yeah, and like
To
somehow
actually measure it and show the difference. That's so amazing.
yeah, and does your body's frequency change, or how does that all come together? Who knows? But that could be fun to integrate all that into some sort of
Absolutely.
production.
And help
Yeah.
make some of the people that are skeptical about it to like, here's the numbers, here's the research, here's the data. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, cool. Well, before we as we take off here, if someone was coming into psychedelics super new, is there any advice that you would give them from your experience and your journey?
You had a great reminder about like setting the intention of whatever you're going into. What is your intention for this? And I know that my first time trying any kind of psychedelics, I was always apprehensive, a little bit nervous of what's this going to be like? What am I going to be like on the other side of this? And in my research before doing it, because I think going into anything, it's just so important to be armed with knowledge and see other people's experiences, so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into and what you're exploring. But the biggest thing is the intention. I think the set and setting, where you are, who you're around, what kind of knowledge, information, content you're consuming around you exploring this too. Even just like, I notice that anytime that I do psychedelics, where my mind goes is often like maybe the movie that I watched most recently. What are you feeding your mind to also be able to start thinking about when you go deep into this? So even before you do it, give yourself maybe that clean window of space to prepare yourself for the journey, and then keep writing about it. Because I always find that I don't always remember everything that comes from it, but every time I read my journals, it's like revisiting with an old friend, like, oh, wow.
Totally.
But they're my own words. They're my own thoughts and ideas, and I don't want to forget them. And I sometimes, because when you're, feeling it and you can be in that like really just deep, relaxing state, sometimes I don't want to pick up the pen and start writing, but I never regret it because I want to remember those amazing epiphanies. So
yeah,
write about it always.
And how cool is it to meet that past self and where you've evolved from, but that past self still had that affirmation, those cool ideas, but then you've gotten to grow so much into this, and then you can still, like that evolution and checking in with that can be really powerful, and seeing that that's just how much power each and every one of us hold, I think.
Yeah, to see the before and after picture. That's so cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Well, thank you everyone for coming to hang out with us. Check out Marley. Keep an eye on Jaxx Productions. I'm really excited to see what's coming, and who knows, maybe some inspiration from the Inspire and all the good stuff.
I'm excited.
Awesome,
Thanks for having
guys.
me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was really pumped for this conversation. I'd love to do it again sometime and dive in. I was curious about where the other psychedelic journeys went and everything else and how
That'd
it
be great.
integrated. So
That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
thank you. All right,
Cool.
guys, we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Bye.